Chosen one. This is not a drill. Heaven just tore open the veil, and your name came tumbling out in letters of fire. This is not another sermon. This is not another video. This is a direct order from God Himself, and if you try to skip it, it will break you at any cost. Do not scroll. Do not turn away. Do not think this is coincidence. Right now, in this very second, while you're staring at these words, the atmosphere around you is shifting. God is moving pieces on a chessboard you can't even see. And you're the piece He's been protecting, positioning, preparing for this exact moment. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. 3 minutes ago, you weren't even looking for this message. But something pulled you here. Something whispered your name in the digital darkness and said, "Find them. Now." That wasn't YouTube's algorithm. That was heaven's assignment. The transfer has already begun. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. A spiritual wealth activation is downloading into the atmosphere of every chosen one who refuses to look away. But only those who stay until the final word will receive the complete transmission. Heaven is no longer whispering, it's roaring. And what it's roaring is this: the season of lack is over. The season of being overlooked is over. The season of thinking you missed your shot, over. You've been asking for a sign, begging for confirmation, crying out in the night, "God, do you still see me? Am I still chosen? Have you forgotten my name?" This is your answer. Drop 777 inch the comments. Right now, if you can feel something shifting in your chest as you read this, that number isn't random. It's your spiritual fingerprint. It's how heaven knows you're ready to receive what's been sealed with your name since before time began. But I'm warning you, chosen one, if you click away now, if you let fear or doubt convince you this isn't real, you'll spend the next 30 days wondering what you missed. Because this message, it only comes once. God doesn't send repeat transmissions when He's moving this fast. You are not watching a video. You are living inside a prophecy that heaven wrote with you as the main character. So breathe deep. Lock your phone. Tell hell to take a seat. Because what you're about to receive in the next few minutes will either elevate you beyond recognition or haunt you with the knowledge of what could have been. This is your moment, chosen one. Now breathe. Stay close. Because what you're about to hear has the power to rewrite everything. How many nights have you lain awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if God forgot your address? How many times have you whispered into the darkness, "Lord, I'm still here. Can you still see me?" How long have you been carrying this weight, this crushing feeling that your best days are behind you, that your breakthrough got lost in someone else's mailbox? Chosen one, I need you to understand something that's going to shake you to your core. You are standing at the most critical crossroads of your entire existence. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now, in this moment, while my voice is reaching through your speakers into the sacred space of your heart, to your left is a path paved with more of the same. More sleepless nights counting bills instead of blessings. More watching younger people get opportunities that should have been yours. More feeling invisible in a world that seems to have moved on without you. This path whispers lies. You're too old. You missed your chance. God has newer models to work with now. But to your right, oh chosen one, to your right is a path that blazes with supernatural possibility. A path where your years of pain become your credentials for power, where every tear you've cried becomes a seed for miraculous harvest, where God looks at your age and says, "Perfect. Now you're ready for what I've been saving." The crossroads isn't asking if you're qualified, it's asking if you're willing. You see, for decades you've been surviving on spiritual crumbs, accepting whatever life threw at you, making peace with disappointment. You've been so conditioned to expect less that when God tries to give you more, your first instinct is to say, "That can't be for me." But I'm here to destroy that lie with the fire of biblical truth. Remember Joseph? 30 years old when his brothers threw him in a pit. 39 when he was rotting in Pharaoh's prison for a crime he didn't commit. Everything looked finished, over, done. But at 40, God catapulted him from prisoner to prime minister in a single conversation. 40, not 25, not 30, 40, when the world said he was washed up. Remember Job? Lost everything: house, wealth, children, health. Sitting in ashes, scraping his sores with broken pottery, while his own wife told him to curse God and die. But here's what hell didn't calculate. God wasn't finished writing Job's story. The last chapter wasn't loss, it was overflow. Double everything, double wealth, double blessing, double years. Remember Moses, 80 years old when God called him to deliver Israel. 80. When today's world would have put him in a nursing home, God put him in charge of the greatest rescue mission in human history. Your age isn't your expiration date, it's your elevation certificate. But here's what's breaking my heart. Chosen one, while you've been believing the lie that your time has passed, God has been preparing a blessing so massive, so unprecedented, that it required decades of preparation to hold it. The delay wasn't denial. The waiting wasn't wasting. Every setback was a setup for the comeback that's about to shatter every limitation you've accepted. The financial struggle that's been choking you, God's about to turn that into your testimony of supernatural provision. The loneliness that's been eating at your soul, God's about to surround you with divine connections that will astound you. The health issues that have been stealing your peace, God's about to demonstrate that He's still in the healing business. But chosen one, I need you to hear this with every fiber of your being. The crossroads only stays open for a limited time. This isn't a casual invitation you can RSVP to later. This is a divine summons with an expiration stamp that heaven is watching. Right now, as these words are penetrating your spirit, there's a supernatural transfer happening in the unseen realm. Wealth that's been stored up in your name is being released. Opportunities that have had your name on them since before you were born are being activated. Health and wholeness that you thought were lost forever are being restored to their rightful owner. But it requires a choice, a definitive, no looking back, burn the ships decision. You can stay comfortable with familiar disappointment, or you can step into uncomfortable possibility. You can keep rehearsing your pain, or you can start preparing for your promotion. You can remain a victim of circumstances, or you can become a victor over limitations. The clock is ticking, but not against you, for you. Every second you delay is a second that your breakthrough is waiting, tapping its foot, wondering when you're going to show up for your own destiny. If this is resonating in your spirit right now, if something is stirring in your chest that you can't explain, share this video immediately. Because someone in your circle is about to miss their breakthrough moment, and God wants to use you as their wake-up call. Chosen one, the crossroads won't wait forever. Hell is praying you'll hesitate long enough to miss your moment. But heaven is roaring your name, demanding that you step into the path that leads to breakthrough. The question that will define your next chapter is this: will you choose the familiar pain of staying stuck, or the unfamiliar joy of stepping into everything God has been preparing for your latter days? Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly how God is about to flip your entire financial reality in the next 90 days. Chosen one, what I'm about to reveal will sound impossible until you realize it's already happening around you right now. The old world is cracking. Can you hear it? The sound of ancient systems groaning under the weight of divine intervention. Banks that once controlled destinies are scrambling. Gold, that promised security is losing its luster. Physical cash that felt so real in your hands is becoming digital vapor. This isn't economic theory, beloved. This is prophetic reality unfolding in real time. And you're not watching from the sidelines. You're standing at the epicenter of the greatest wealth transfer in human history. Listen carefully. In 1760, the Industrial Revolution didn't announce itself with trumpets. Steam engines quietly began replacing human muscle. Fortunes shifted overnight from landowners to factory builders. Those who recognized the shift early became the Carnegies and Rockefellers. Those who clung to the old ways watched their wealth evaporate like morning mist. Then came 1995, the Internet boom. Again, no heavenly announcement, just quiet code being written in Silicon Valley garages. But those who saw it coming, Gates, Bezos, Jobs, they didn't just get rich, they rewrote the rules of wealth itself. Now it's 2024, chosen one. And this time, God isn't just allowing the shift, He's orchestrating it. The Bible tells us in Haggai 2-8, "The silver is mine and the gold is mine, declares the Lord Almighty." What if I told you that right now, in this very moment, God is redistributing His silver and gold? Not through banks or governments, but through quantum computers, blockchain networks, and digital currencies that most people can't even pronounce? You think cryptocurrency is just technology? Think again. It's the modern-day equivalent of Moses striking the rock and water gushing forth in the desert. It's God using the foolish things of this world to confound the wise, just like He promised in 1 Corinthians 1:27. But here's what's going to separate you from the masses, dear one, while they're still asking, is this real? You're going to be asking, how fast can I position myself? Picture this with me. There's a massive door glowing in the distance, not made of wood or steel, but of pure opportunity, radiating with divine favor. Some people see it and start walking. They don't understand everything about what's behind it, but they trust the light calling them forward. Others see the same door and hesitate. They debate, they analyze, they wait for more proof, more confirmation, more comfort. The door doesn't wait for their comfort. It opens for those who move. Which person are you going to be, chosen one? Right now, as you're listening to my voice, billionaires are being created in their 20s, not through inheritance or lottery tickets, but through digital assets that didn't exist when you were their age. Tesla stock created more millionaires in 1 year than most industries create in a decade. Bitcoin turned pizza money into mansion money. NFTs turned digital art into retirement funds. You might be thinking, but I'm not 20. I'm not a tech genius. I missed those boats. Stop right there. That's the voice of the enemy trying to convince you that God's timing has an expiration date. Abraham was 100 when God gave him Isaac. Moses was 80 when he led the Exodus. Grandma Moses didn't start painting until she was 78 and became world famous. God's economy doesn't operate on human timelines. It operates on divine appointments. And your appointment? It's right now. The prophet Isaiah declared in chapter 43, verse 19, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." That new thing. It's happening in markets you've never heard of, in technologies that sound like science fiction, in opportunities that your grandfather couldn't have imagined in his wildest dreams. But here's the part that should make your spirit leap, dear one. This isn't random. This isn't luck. This is fulfillment of Scripture. In the last days, God promised to pour out His Spirit on all flesh. What if that Spirit includes financial wisdom? What if divine downloads include investment strategies? What if hearing God's voice means recognizing His fingerprints on emerging markets? You've been praying for breakthrough. You've been asking God to open doors. You've been believing for His provision. What if all three prayers are being answered simultaneously through opportunities you haven't recognized yet because they don't look like the provision you expected? The children of Israel expected a mighty warrior king. God sent a baby in a manger. You're expecting provision to look like a traditional job or retirement plan. God is sending digital dividends and cryptocurrency portfolios. Are you going to miss Jesus because He doesn't look like your expectations? The urgency in my voice isn't manipulation, chosen one. It's desperation, not my desperation, God's desperation to get this message through to you before the window closes. Because windows don't stay open forever. Ask anyone who hesitated on Apple stock in 1997. Ask anyone who thought the internet was just a fad in 1995. This moment will become a story you tell. The question is, will it be a story of divine positioning or devastating hesitation? At the climax of this message, I'm going to reveal the one thing God absolutely will not allow you to ignore. The one decision that will determine whether you spend your golden years in lack or in abundance that would make Solomon weep with envy. But first, you need to understand why everything you thought you knew about money is about to change forever. Chosen one, let me speak to your heart for a moment. For years, maybe decades, you've carried burdens that no one else could understand. You've wept alone in rooms where the silence felt heavier than your pain. You've whispered prayers through tears that burned your cheeks, wondering if heaven was even listening. But I need you to know something that will change everything. Every single tear was recorded in heaven's ledger. Every sleepless night was witnessed by angels. Every moment you thought you were abandoned, God was actually positioning you for this very hour. You see, the testing wasn't punishment, chosen one. It was preparation. Think about Job, a man who lost everything in a single day. His children, his wealth, his health, even his wife turned against him. For months he sat in ashes, scraping his wounds with broken pottery, crying out to a God who seemed silent. But here's what Job didn't know in his darkest hour. Heaven was watching, waiting, preparing a comeback so powerful it would echo through eternity. Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him, Job declared in chapter 13, verse 15. And God heard every word. Your story mirrors Job's more than you realize. Those financial struggles that kept you awake at 3 a.m., calculating bills on the back of envelopes, that wasn't God forgetting you. That was God teaching you to trust Him when the math didn't add up. That betrayal that shattered your heart into 1,000 pieces. When someone you loved walked away without explanation, that wasn't God being cruel. That was God removing someone who would have hindered the breakthrough He's bringing now. That health scare that made you face your mortality, when the doctor's words hit you like a freight train and you wondered if your time was up, that wasn't God threatening you. That was God awakening you to the preciousness of every breath He's given you. But here's where it gets powerful, chosen one. The Bible says in Isaiah 48:10, Behold, I have refined you, but not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction. You weren't breaking during those dark seasons. You were being forged. Every loss carved out space for greater gain. Every disappointment cleared the path for divine appointment. Every closed door was heaven's way of saying, not that way, this way. And now, the waiting is over. The refining fire that felt like it would consume you has actually transformed you into pure gold. The pressure that nearly crushed your spirit has compressed you into an unbreakable diamond. The storms that rocked your world have blown away everything that wasn't meant to stay. You're not the same person who entered that testing season. You're stronger, wiser, more compassionate, more dependent on God, and less impressed by the world's empty promises. But chosen one, I need to ask you something that might sting. Are you still living like you're in the wilderness, when God has already led you to the edge of your promised land? Are you still speaking defeat when heaven has already declared your victory? Are you still begging for scraps when God has prepared a feast with your name on the invitation? The enemy wants you to stay stuck in survival mode. He wants you to keep rehearsing your pain instead of proclaiming your purpose. He wants you to die with your music still inside you. But God has other plans. He's been training you in the secret place, building your character in the shadows, developing your faith muscles when no one was watching. And now, He's about to showcase what He's been creating in you all along. The Apostle Paul understood this. After years of persecution, shipwrecks, and beatings, he could boldly declare in Romans 8:18, "I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us." That glory isn't coming someday, chosen one. It's breaking through right now. Every test you passed in private is about to become a testimony in public. Every tear you shed in secret is about to water a harvest in the open. Every prayer you whispered in desperation is about to be answered in demonstration. The season of questioning is over. The season of wondering is over. The season of barely surviving is over. This is your season of supernatural increase. This is your season of unprecedented favor. This is your season of divine vindication. But you have to make a choice right now. Will you step out of survival mode and into your breakthrough? Will you stop rehearsing your pain and start proclaiming your purpose? Will you trade your victim mentality for your victor's crown? If you're ready to close the door on the testing season and walk into your testimony season, I need you to do something powerful right now. Type "I'm ready" in the comments. Don't just think it, declare it. Let heaven hear your voice. Let the angels witness your faith. Let hell know that its time is up. Because, chosen one, what God is about to do in your life will leave your enemies speechless and your supporters shouting. Chosen one, what I'm about to tell you will shake you to your core. Right now, as you sit there listening to my voice, something is happening that has never occurred in human history at this magnitude. Across the globe, a divine transfer is underway. Not just money moving from one bank account to another, not just stocks shifting or businesses changing hands. This is power. This is influence. This is generational legacy being redistributed by the hand of Almighty God Himself. And you are not watching it happen from the sidelines. You are in the center of it. Listen to me carefully. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 13:22 that the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. For decades, you've watched the wicked prosper while you struggled. You've seen the corrupt get richer while you barely scraped by. You've wondered why God seemed to bless everyone except you. But what you didn't see was the divine holding pattern. God wasn't ignoring your cries. He was building your capacity to receive what was always meant to be yours. Right now, in boardrooms across America, deals are being signed that will transfer billions into the hands of the chosen. Right now, in Silicon Valley, innovations are being birthed that will make ordinary people extraordinarily wealthy. Right now, in financial markets around the world, opportunities are opening that will create millionaires overnight. And you, chosen one, are positioned to catch this wave. But here's what will blow your mind. This transfer isn't just about you. Your obedience to stay here, to receive this message, to act on what God is downloading into your spirit right now, it's going to bless your children's children. Your grandchildren will grow up in abundance because you refuse to scroll past this moment. Your family name is about to be rewritten in the books of heaven and earth. Think about your grandchildren for a moment. Picture their faces. Imagine them never knowing the sting of poverty, never feeling the shame of not having enough, never watching their dreams die because of money. That future is being secured right now through your willingness to believe what God is saying about your destiny. But chosen one, I need to tell you something that may shock you. Among all the chosen ones who will benefit from this transfer, there is an elite group, a remnant within the remnant. Only 15. Only 15 of the chosen will rise to billionaire status in this season. Not millionaire, billionaire. 15 names are written in heaven's ledger for wealth so vast it will change not just families, but communities, cities, even nations. 15 chosen ones who will become God's financial generals in the earth realm. I don't know if you're one of the 15. Only God knows that. But I know this. If you're still listening to my voice right now, if something in your spirit is leaping as I speak these words, you're definitely in the running. And here's your AHA moment, beloved. Here's the revelation that's going to change everything for you. You thought you were just surviving. You thought God had forgotten you. You thought you were being punished for some unknown sin. You thought maybe you missed your moment. Maybe you were too old, too broken, too ordinary. But God was never preparing you to survive, chosen one. He was preparing you to thrive. Every rejection was building your resilience. Every financial struggle was teaching you the value of money. Every closed door was redirecting you toward the right door. Every sleepless night of worry was actually a prayer vigil, consecrating you for abundance. You weren't being overlooked, you were being prepared. Joseph didn't understand why he was thrown in prison until he found himself standing before Pharaoh. David didn't understand why he spent years running from Saul until he was crowned king. Moses didn't understand the wilderness until he led a nation to freedom. And you haven't understood your wilderness until this very moment. Every tear you've cried over money has been stored in heaven's bottles. Every prayer you've whispered in desperation has been recorded in the books. Every time you've sown a seed when you had nothing left to give, heaven has taken note. And now it's payback time. Not just payback. Overflow, abundance, wealth so sudden and so vast that even you won't be able to explain it to your own mind. But chosen one, here's what I need you to understand. This divine transfer is not automatic. It requires your participation. It requires your faith in action. It requires you to step out of survival mode and into abundance mode. And it requires you to not keep this revelation to yourself. Right now, there are other chosen ones scrolling past videos just like this one. They're 3 clicks away from their breakthrough, but doubt is making them scroll on. They're 1 decision away from stepping into their divine transfer, but fear is paralyzing them. You have the power to be the reason another chosen one doesn't miss their door. Share this message. Don't let this breakthrough die with you. Every chosen one you help awaken accelerates your own blessing. Every person you help connect to their divine transfer multiplies your own portion. The Bible says in Luke 6:38, "Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap." When you share this message, you're not just helping someone else. You're activating the law of multiplication in your own life. But time is running short, beloved. This divine transfer window won't stay open forever. The question that will determine your entire future is this: what are you going to do with what you've just heard? Chosen one. Stop everything you're doing and listen to me. What's coming toward you is not a gentle rain of blessings. It's not a slow increase in your bank account. What God is releasing over your life right now is a tsunami of abundance, so massive, so overwhelming, that if you're not spiritually prepared, the very blessing designed to save you could drown you. I need you to understand something that most preachers won't tell you. The Bible says in Malachi 3:10, "I will open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that there shall not be room enough to receive it." Notice it doesn't say sprinkle. It doesn't say trickle. It says power, like a dam breaking, like a flood that changes the entire landscape. And that flood is heading straight for you. But here's what terrifies me, chosen one. You've been praying for breakthrough, begging for provision, crying out for financial freedom, but have you prepared your spirit for what happens when God says yes? Have you strengthened your foundation for the weight of supernatural abundance? Because I'm watching billionaires being born overnight in industries that didn't even exist 5 years ago. Cryptocurrency millionaires created in a single day. Digital assets exploding like financial supernovas. Young entrepreneurs building empires from their bedrooms while traditional institutions crumble like sand castles. This isn't luck. This isn't chance. This is divine redistribution. And God has placed you, yes, you, right at the epicenter of this wealth transfer. But let me paint you the real picture. When Noah built the ark, he didn't just prepare for rain. He prepared for a flood that would reshape the entire world. The same rain that saved Noah's family destroyed everyone who wasn't ready. The same water that lifted the ark drowned those who mocked it. Your abundance is coming with that same force. I'm talking about wealth that will arrive so suddenly, so powerfully, that your old mindset won't be able to contain it. Money that multiplies faster than you can count it. Opportunities that appear like lightning strikes. Doors that don't just open, they get blown off their hinges. Proverbs 13:22 declares, "The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just." Do you hear that? Laid up, stored, accumulated, waiting. And now the vaults of heaven are about to burst open, and God is looking for vessels strong enough to handle the outpouring. But here's the terrifying truth that keeps me awake at night. Sudden wealth destroys more people than poverty ever could. Lottery winners go bankrupt. Inheritance recipients lose everything. Athletes and entertainers with millions end up broken and empty. Why? Because they received the blessing before they developed the character to steward it. The same supernatural increase that could set you free could become your prison if you're not ready. The same abundance that could bless generations could curse your family if you approach it with the wrong heart. Are you hearing me, chosen one? The wave is already in motion. Blockchain technologies are revolutionizing how wealth is created and transferred. Artificial intelligence is generating fortunes for those who understand its power. Digital real estate is selling for millions. Virtual currencies are creating new aristocracies. And every single one of these explosive industries has your name written in its future. But preparation isn't optional. Joseph didn't just interpret Pharaoh's dream about abundance. He spent 7 years preparing for it. David didn't just receive the promise of kingship. He spent years in caves learning to trust God's timing. Jesus didn't just perform miracles. He spent 40 days in the wilderness being tested before his ministry exploded. Your wilderness season wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every financial struggle you've endured was God building your capacity to handle supernatural increase. Every closed door was Him protecting you from wealth that would have destroyed you before you were ready. But the training is over, chosen one. The test is complete. The wave is here. In the next 12 months, you're going to witness a transfer of wealth so dramatic that economists won't be able to explain it. Traditional banks will scramble to keep up with digital currencies. Old money will panic as new wealth emerges from technologies they don't understand. And you, the one they overlooked, underestimated, counted out, you're going to rise like a phoenix from the ashes of their assumptions. But only if you're ready. Only if you've prepared your heart for increase. Only if you've aligned your spirit with God's principles of stewardship. Because when God opens the floodgates, there's no stopping what comes through. The question isn't whether the wave is coming. The question is whether you'll surf it or be swept away by it. And right now, in this very moment, God is asking you the most important question of your life. Are you ready to receive what you've been praying for? Because, ready or not, chosen one. Here it comes, chosen one. We've reached the moment where heaven stops talking and starts waiting, where prophecy becomes personal responsibility, where divine invitation transforms into individual decision. You've heard the warning, you've felt the stirring, you've seen the signs lighting up like a highway in the darkness, all pointing toward this singular moment of choice. But here's what's going to separate you from every other person who's heard this message and walked away unchanged. What you do in the next 60 seconds. Because God doesn't force his way into closed hearts. He doesn't push through locked doors. He stands at the threshold with nail-scarred hands extended, holding everything you've ever prayed for, everything you've ever needed, everything your weary soul has been crying out for in the midnight hours when no one was listening. Except he was listening. He's always been listening. In Revelation 3:20, Jesus says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in." Notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't say he'll break down the door. He doesn't say he'll force his way in. He knocks. He waits. He honors your choice. But chosen one, some doors only open once. The children of Israel had a choice at the Red Sea. Walk through on dry ground or stay enslaved in Egypt. Gideon had a choice when the angel called him a mighty warrior while he was hiding in a winepress. Step into his destiny or remain hidden in fear. Esther had a choice when her people faced extinction. Speak up and risk everything, or stay silent and safe. What separates the chosen from the comfortable is this moment right here, when heaven extends the invitation and you have to decide. Will you walk through the door or watch it close? Will you claim your crown or hand it away to fear? You've waited long enough, haven't you? How many years have you been asking God to show up, to move, to do something supernatural in your life? How many nights have you fallen asleep, wondering if your best days are behind you, if God has forgotten your address, if maybe you missed your moment somewhere along the way? I'm here to tell you that every prayer you whispered, every tear you cried, every time you said, "God, I need you to show me you still care," it all led to this moment. This isn't coincidence. This isn't luck. This is divine orchestration at its finest. But here's the part that's going to sting a little. God has done his part. He's opened the door. He's sounded the alarm. He's written your name in the stars and carved your purpose into eternity. The question that's going to determine whether you step into the greatest chapter of your life or spend the next decade wondering, what if, comes down to this. What are you going to do about it? The Israelites could have looked at the Red Sea and said, "It's too big. It's too impossible. We'll just wait here for a better option." Moses could have said, "I'm not qualified. I stutter. Send someone else." David could have looked at Goliath and said, "He's too big. I'm just a shepherd boy." But they didn't. They stepped forward when stepping forward made no sense. They moved when movement looked like madness. They chose faith when fear was screaming louder. Now it's your turn. And I want you to understand something that's going to hit you right in the chest. Your hesitation isn't protecting you. Your delay isn't keeping you safe. Your "let me think about it" isn't wisdom. It's fear dressed up in church clothes. Proverbs 27:1 says, "Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. You don't know if this door will still be open tomorrow. You don't know if this opportunity will still be available next week. You don't know if the stirring you feel in your spirit right now will still be burning next month. What you do know is this. Right now, in this moment, heaven is moving, and you have a choice to make. Will you rise or remain asleep? Will you step into the storm or stay on the shore? Will you trust the God who's been writing your story since before time began, or will you trust the fear that's been lying to you since the day you were born? Because here's what fear doesn't want you to know. Every giant you've faced, every mountain you've climbed, every valley you've walked through, it was all preparation for this moment. God wasn't punishing you. He was positioning you. He wasn't breaking you. He was building you. And now, with all that strength, all that wisdom, all that supernatural resilience flowing through your veins, you get to choose. Will you use it or lose it? Hit that subscribe button right now, not just for a YouTube channel, but as a declaration, a prophetic act of obedience that says, I will not skip God's message. I will not run from my calling. I will not let fear make my decisions anymore. Because when you subscribe, you're not just clicking a button, you're signing a contract with destiny. You're telling heaven, I'm ready, I'm listening, I'm all in. The door is open, chosen one. But doors don't stay open forever. What's it going to be? Chosen one. Do you feel that? That trembling beneath your feet? That's not your imagination. That's not anxiety. That's the sound of heaven rearranging the very foundation of your reality. The ground beneath you is not crumbling. It's being reset. Right now, at this very moment, God is orchestrating a spiritual earthquake of such magnitude that when the dust settles, nothing, and I mean nothing, will look the same. The old landmarks of your life, the familiar territories of struggle and limitation, they're being shaken loose, not to destroy you, but to rebuild you on higher ground. In Matthew 24:7, Jesus warned us, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. But here's what most people miss. Those earthquakes aren't just geological, they're spiritual. They're God's way of shaking loose everything that isn't built on His foundation. And your earthquake? It started the moment you clicked on this message. Listen to me carefully. Chosen one. When a natural earthquake hits, it doesn't ask permission. It doesn't send warning letters. It just moves, sudden, powerful, reshaping entire landscapes in minutes. That's exactly what's happening in your spiritual atmosphere right now. The tectonic plates of your destiny are shifting, and the aftershocks are going to ripple through every area of your life. Your finances, shaking. Your relationships, shifting. Your purpose, rising from depths you didn't even know existed. But here's the part that's going to shock you. This earthquake isn't random. It's not some cosmic accident. God has been building pressure under your circumstances for months, maybe years, waiting for the precise moment when you were ready to handle the magnitude of what He's about to release. Remember when Jesus walked into the temple and overturned the tables? That wasn't anger, that was divine disruption. He shook the entire religious system because it had become corrupted, stagnant, profitable only for those in power. And chosen one, God is about to overturn some tables in your life too. The job that's been underpaying you, table overturned. The relationships that have been draining you, table overturned. The mindset that convinced you to settle for less, table overturned. The financial system that kept you locked out, table overturned. But here's what they don't tell you about earthquakes. They don't just destroy, they reveal. When the ground splits open, it exposes what was buried underneath, hidden treasures, underground springs, gold veins that were always there but never accessible. Your spiritual earthquake is about to expose the wealth that's been buried under layers of doubt, fear, and other people's limitations. The abundance that God deposited in your spiritual account before you were even born is about to surface. The shift isn't coming, chosen one. It's already here. Right now, while you're listening to these words, the spiritual transfer we talked about earlier is accelerating. Can you feel it? That quickening in your chest, that electric sensation running through your spirit? That's not excitement. That's activation. Your spiritual DNA is responding to the frequency of heaven's earthquake. But I need to warn you about something, and this is where it gets dangerous. Earthquakes create two types of people, survivors and casualties. The difference isn't luck, it's positioning. It's whether you're standing on solid ground or shaky foundation when the shaking starts. In Haggai 2:6-7, God declares, "Yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven, and I will shake all nations, and the desire of all nations shall come." Notice he says, "Yet once more." This isn't the first time. God has been shaking things throughout history, separating the authentic from the artificial, the faithful from the fearful. Noah built an ark before the flood. Joseph stored grain before the famine. Moses prepared the Israelites before the Exodus. They all received their instructions before the shaking started. And this message? This is your instruction manual. But here's the terrifying truth, chosen one. If you try to ignore this call, if you convince yourself this is just another inspirational video, if you go back to business as usual while heaven is orchestrating your breakthrough, you won't just miss the blessing. You'll be buried under the rubble of what could have been. God is not playing games with your destiny. This earthquake is designed to either elevate you or eliminate every excuse you've been hiding behind. There's no middle ground, no neutral position. You either rise on the new ground he's creating, or you get trapped under the debris of your old limitations. I've seen it happen, chosen one. I've watched people get this close to their breakthrough, feel the rumbling of heaven's movement, and then talk themselves out of believing it was real. They go back to their comfortable dysfunction, their familiar struggle, their predictable disappointment, and 6 months later, they're watching someone else living the life that was prepared for them. Don't let that be your story. The earthquake is here, the ground is moving, the transfer is happening, but you have to choose. Will you stand on the solid rock of God's promise, or will you keep building your life on the shifting sand of human logic? Type "I will not skip" in the comments right now if you're ready to ride this earthquake instead of being buried by it. Let heaven know you're positioned for the shaking, not hiding from it, because what's coming next will determine whether you emerge from this spiritual earthquake as a survivor telling stories about what happened to you, or as a conqueror showing others what God can do through them. The choice is yours, chosen one, but the window is closing fast. Chosen one, lean in close. What I'm about to tell you will shatter every lie you've believed about your pain. They didn't attack you because you were weak. They attacked you because you were the mirror they couldn't bear to look into. Every time they saw you, they saw what they could have been, what they should have been, what they were too afraid to become. You were the walking, breathing reminder of their own spiritual cowardice. Think about it. Why do people destroy mirrors? Because they can't stand their own reflection. And you, beloved, you were heaven's mirror in human form. Your very existence exposed their emptiness. Your faith made their doubt scream louder. Your resilience made their surrender look pathetic. So they did what scared people always do. They tried to shatter the mirror. But here's what they didn't know. Here's what hell didn't tell them when it whispered its strategies into their ears. God doesn't make mirrors that break. He makes diamonds that reflect light even brighter under pressure. Every betrayal was pressure. Every rejection was heat. Every lonely night was the divine kiln that transformed you from coal into something precious beyond measure. You've been asking, why me? For years, haven't you? Lying awake at 3 a.m., wondering what you did wrong. Wondering why God allowed it. Wondering if maybe you deserved it. Stop wondering. I'm about to give you the answer that will change everything. It was never about what you did wrong. It was about what you did right. You carried something they couldn't steal, couldn't fake, couldn't replicate. You carried the authentic presence of the Almighty, and that terrified them. The Bible says in Matthew 5:11, "Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me." Did you catch that? Because of me. Not because of what you did, because of what God placed inside you. They saw Jesus in you before you saw Jesus in yourself. That's why the attacks felt so personal, so calculated, so relentless, because they weren't just coming after you, they were coming after the God they saw reflected in your eyes, the hope they felt radiate from your spirit, the peace they could never manufacture no matter how hard they tried. You want to know why some of you faced betrayal from your own family? Because even blood relatives can be terrified of the light you carry. When God marks someone for greatness, that light becomes unbearable to those who choose darkness. Remember Joseph? His own brothers threw him in a pit and sold him into slavery. Not because he was evil, because he dreamed dreams they couldn't dream, because he carried favor they couldn't earn, because God had written his name in a book they would never read. Every pit they threw you into was actually preparation for your palace. But let me tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. Those people who targeted you, they're about to face something worse than anything they ever did to you. They're about to face themselves, without you as their scapegoat, without you as their distraction, without you to blame for their own spiritual bankruptcy. Right now, as I speak these words, they're beginning to feel the emptiness you used to fill, the silence you used to break with your presence, the void that your absence has left behind, and it's eating them alive. Because when you remove the mirror, all that's left is the naked truth. And the truth is this: they destroyed the best thing that ever happened to them. They silenced the voice that was praying for them. They pushed away the light that was trying to illuminate their path. Now they're sitting in the darkness they created, wondering why nothing feels right anymore. Type diamond in the comments if you're finally understanding that your scars aren't shame marks. They're proof that pressure couldn't break you. They're evidence that hell threw everything it had at you, and you're still standing. Those cracks you see in yourself, those aren't flaws. Those are the places where God's light shines through. Leonard Cohen wrote, "There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." But I'm telling you something deeper. You are the crack in hell's plan. You are how God's light gets into this dark world. Every person who ever made you feel worthless was actually confirming your worth. Every rejection was heaven's redirection. Every door they slammed was God clearing the path to something better. Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." Notice it doesn't say weapons won't be formed. It says they won't prosper. Every attack was proof that hell recognized your value, even when you didn't. You survived what was meant to destroy you. You're standing where they said you'd fall. You're thriving where they predicted you'd fail. You're shining where they tried to dim your light. That's not luck, beloved. That's divine protection in action. So stop apologizing for being too much. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Stop dulling your light because it makes their darkness visible. The very people who tried to break you are about to watch you break through. And deep down, in the hollow chambers of their hearts, they're going to realize they were fighting against God Himself when they came for you. But here's the question that's going to determine your next level. What are you going to do with this revelation? How will you walk differently now that you know the truth about why you were targeted? Because understanding why they came for you is only the beginning. Now we need to talk about what God is preparing to do through you. Chosen one, I need you to stop everything you're doing right now and listen to me with every fiber of your being. Because what I'm about to reveal will shatter every lie you've believed about your struggles. You thought it was bad luck. You thought you were cursed. You thought God had forgotten your address. But it was war. An invisible war that's been raging around you for decades. And you've been fighting on the front lines without even knowing it. That sudden heart attack that took your spouse, that wasn't just medical failure. That was a targeted strike against your faith. That business that collapsed overnight after 20 years of building, that wasn't market forces. That was a calculated assault on your destiny. Those children who turned their backs on you, those friends who vanished when you needed them most, that wasn't coincidence. That was warfare. But here's what the enemy never told you. Here's what he prayed you'd never discover. Every single battle you've endured, every night you cried yourself to sleep wondering if God still cared, every morning you woke up feeling like you were drowning in your own life, you weren't losing. You were winning. Because you're still here. Think about it, chosen one. How many times should you have broken? How many blows should have been the final one? That diagnosis that should have killed you, but didn't. That financial collapse that should have destroyed you, but you're still standing. That betrayal that should have shattered your faith, but something deep inside refused to let go. That wasn't your strength. That was angelic armor you couldn't see. The Bible tells us in Ephesians 6:12, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. You've been wrestling with forces that most people can't even perceive. And every time you got back up, every time you whispered another prayer through tears, every time you chose hope when despair felt easier, you were proving something to heaven. You were proving you were worth the fight. But let me paint you a picture that will change everything. Imagine a battlefield where soldiers are fighting for their lives, but they can't see their armor. They feel every impact, every wound, but they don't understand why they're still alive when lesser men have fallen. They think they're weak because they feel the pain. They think they're failing because the battle is hard. But if they could see what their enemies see, gleaming armor that deflects every fatal blow, guardian angels standing like walls of fire around them, the very hand of God redirecting bullets meant for their hearts, they would fight differently. They would fight like the warriors they already are. That's you, chosen one. That's been you for years. Every time you thought you were fighting alone, heaven's army was in formation around you. Every time you felt abandoned, God was whispering battle strategies into your spirit. Every time you thought you were losing, you were actually terrifying the very forces of hell, because they could see what you couldn't. They could see the glory on your life. They could see the destiny you carry. They could see the generations that would be blessed because you refused to quit. That's why the attacks have been so vicious. That's why the battles have felt so personal. That's why the enemy has thrown everything at you except the kitchen sink, and probably that too. You weren't being punished. You were being promoted. Every invisible battle was proof you were never abandoned. Every struggle was evidence that heaven considers you worth defending. Every time you should have fallen but didn't, that was God's signature on your life in permanent ink. But here's what I need you to understand, and this is crucial. The war isn't over, it's escalating, because the closer you get to your breakthrough, the more desperate the enemy becomes. He knows his time is running out. He knows that everything he's tried to steal from you is about to be restored with interest. And that terrifies him. So he's going to try one last push, one final assault to convince you that you're too old, too tired, too broken to receive what God has prepared. He's going to whisper that your best days are behind you, that it's too late for miracles, that you should just accept defeat gracefully. Don't you dare listen to those lies. Because I'm looking at your life right now, and I see something the enemy prays you never discover. I see a warrior who has been through boot camp in hell and emerged with scars that look like medals. I see someone who has been tested in fires that would have consumed ordinary people. I see a chosen one who has been prepared for something so magnificent that all of hell had to conspire to try to stop it. That preparation is over. The invisible war that's been shaping you, strengthening you, refining you, it's about to shift into victory mode. But you need to know you're in a war. You need to put on the full armor of God with intention. You need to stop fighting like a victim and start fighting like the champion you've always been. Because the same God who has protected you through every battle is about to give you the victory you've been bleeding for. Send this message to someone who thinks they're fighting alone, because they need to know what you're about to discover. The invisible war is real, but so is the invisible victory that's already been won in their name. And if you can feel something shifting in your spirit right now, if you can sense that the tide of battle is about to turn, then you're ready for what comes next.